Welcome to the CSI Weekend Update. We had a lot happen this week in our local government. There was a Board of Commissioners meeting with a public hearing on Tuesday, and there was also a school board meeting, public hearing on the school budget Tuesday, both at the same time, 6 p.m. I wasn't able to make both, so my wife attended the Board of Commissioners while I took care of filming the school board meeting. Well, these meetings now, just to know, they've been scheduled like this for many years, and I and others have voiced our opinion on the school board changing their meetings to another night when the Board of Commissioners is not in session. So hopefully that will happen in the future. It won't happen this year, but maybe next year they can make that change. They were open to doing that. Apparently they just did not realize that it was happening at the same time. So a little bit of disconnect there in our local government and school board. Well, the meetings were very informative, especially the school board meeting. And it looks like the assessment that you got in the mail will ring true for the school tax payment because the Board of Education is on taps to vote to keep the millage rate as it is, not take the rollback. So that means that those taxes that you see on that assessment, let's say school tax, is going to ring true when you go to pay your taxes this year. We'll discuss that later in the program. First, let's get to the Board of Commissioners meeting. They held a public hearing, but it was only on the abandonment of some property at the Cloud Springs Road exit. This is just like a little pie-like area that nothing can be built on and stuff like that. And I think the person who butted up against that property, they will take over that property now, which in some ways that's not only did the county have to abandon it, but also the GOT or the state of Georgia did because of where it was located at. It was an access road that was there at one point for just to kind of go around. It's at that BP station on the backside, the BP station that's there at the exit. And hopefully that property owner will put it in and they'll do something good to that property and put a new BP or something there. I don't know. But it should add back to that of the tax digest and be taxed as commercial property. So not necessarily a bad thing on that. We also had the CFO, Rachel Clark, who has now released the proposed budget for the year. And wow, man, an increase of nearly $5 million on the budget this year. The 2022-23 budget, approved budget, last year for $36,508,000. And this year, the proposed budget is $41,215,000. So this is an increase of $4.7 million in their budget. Last year, they could not even make it on $36 million, so they raised the millage rate in order to raise our taxes. So to achieve the revenue needed to gain, needed for their general fund operations. But this year they're raising the budget $4.7 million and are planning on taking the rollback. So that means they're not raising taxes, but giving all full-time employees $3,500 annual pay raise. I get it. Times are hard and inflation is through the roof. Everyone can use a raise, especially those people in the county that draw Social Security, which is only expected to give a cost of living pay raise of around 3% this year. That means seniors will be living a lot tighter in 2024. So I'm still combing through the budget and plan to do an update on my findings next weekend. Kind of go through some of those expenses, where then that way you can see what's what and what's up, and maybe I can do a little educational thing that I did last year, just go a little bit more in depth with it. There were two special guests in the meeting. during the time of public appearances. That's when everyone goes to speak at the podium, and you got 5 minutes to speak. And one of those folks was Ringgold Mayor Nick Millwood, and he was there just letting commissioners know that the de-annexation laws changed this year, and that the city was looking forward to meeting with the county government to discuss the plans moving forward whenever anything like this comes up. Last time that it happened, that was under Stephen Henry. Mayor Millwood came to the meeting, and he was not allowed to speak whenever they were trying to de-annex a piece of property in Ringgold, out of Ringgold into the county. And that kind of just blew up in our in our county. With it was just very heated. So there's been some laws that's changed. So there's some things that the city council is going to discuss with the county board of commissioners, kind of just make sure that that blow up doesn't happen again. So the second guest though was Catoosa County Sheriff Gary Sisk. Sheriff Sisk was there for a heart-to-heart with the board on a backroom, and what he said was a backroom changing meeting where they changed the sheriff's budget without any consulting with the sheriff prior. He only received an email letting him know that the submitted budget was changed. This is kind of one of those things too. Communication wasn't there. They didn't come through. If they just would have reached out to him, maybe and had that discussion, this is one of those things that wouldn't have gotten out of hand as well. But it looks like that this all started with a memo that went out on July 19th when Sheriff Sisk was asking employees to contact family, friends, and neighbors to let them know to reach out to the commissioners so that they can kind of, plead their case in that of emergency services like the sheriff's department and others, fire department, so on, are in needs of funds to support the staff. This document here that I'm showing now, this was brought to my attention scrolling through a Facebook group. And I seen this, had no idea that it was out there, and didn't even know that it happened, but it was on a Facebook post. And then I did see 2 days later, on July 21st, that there was like this retaliating Facebook post response from Chairman Larry Black on his personal / county Facebook page, detailing responsibilities of the board of commissioners when it comes to the constitutional officers' employee and personnel pay rates. So the sheriff, he came back in July 10th last month for to present his budget to the board. And at the budget hearing meeting, you can see the full video once again on C.S.I Facebook page. But here's a portion of that meeting whenever he first came to have the discussion. And this was, he seems to be very nice and very cordial, and explained everything really well, and what he needs and what his vision is, and being able to help the community, and to be able to help his officers, be able to help the mental health, those with mental health issues. So it seemed like the sheriff had a plan whenever he came and discussed it pretty thoroughly. And here's a look at that video.
So that's all. We're just trying to be competitive in the market. And then on your second page is a comparison for a deputy sheriff. For that, currently, a deputy sheriff starts at $19.24 an hour. That's $42,000 a year. And we're asking in our 23-24 budget to go to $21.87. which would take it to 47,762. Actually, that's still going to keep us as the lowest paid in this area as far as all the comparisons I gave you there: Walker County, Chattanooga, Dalton, Whitfield, and Hamilton County. Walker being the lowest at 48. But I do feel like we can make it work at the 2187.
At the regular meeting this past Tuesday, Sheriff Sisk was a little different in his speech to the board. So here's a video of his 5 minutes at the podium.
Gary Sisk.
Thank you, Commissioners. Gary Sisk, 413 Lawrence Drive, also duly elected Sheriff of Catoosa County. I felt the need to come here and speak to you on the budget issues. Basically, I'm disappointed, of course, in probably the financial part of it, but the bigger issue I have is really with the process of it, and that there really was no discussion between parties, and that really none of you communicated to the elected officials or anything. As Rachel said, we did have a meeting with her and Dan. Most of the conversation was from the other side of the table, not necessarily theirs, and they don't know what process you're taking. So I presented a budget of what the sheriff's office needed, but then you went behind closed doors and worked on a budget and made decisions on my budget and reduced and adjusted it. And the only way I found out about that was after receiving an email from the CFO late one Friday evening. So I came to an executive session and brought some issues to you and made you aware of an $800,000 grant that the sheriff's office had received that was for mental health response and school resource officers. So then after that, I understand you had another meeting. And even in that meeting, questions still came up about the grant and or if the school system would pay for all of the SROs as they have in the past. But no one called me, no one asked, in which I already have an MOU that's been presented to the school board and approved for their portion of pay of the SROs. And Superintendent Nix and I had already spoke, and he understood the school system would not get any of the grant. So really, when you take upon yourself to make these decisions, then I can't support that. I don't believe you or anyone under you had any discussions with any of the elected officials about their budgets. And discussions, I mean back and forth. Last year, the budget fell short and you blamed assessments and rollback every year. This year, we're still trying to make up from last year, and again, budgets fall short. So, I mean, really, I question, is there any financial plans? You know, having some of the lowest paid emergency services in the Tennessee Valley is not something to be proud of. You know, your emergency services, this is part of a pant leg of a deputy that has a hole in it from bullet shrapnel from the other evening. You know, that's not something that we normally deal with. I know you say you support emergency services, but your actions speak louder than your words. So, what is your mission? And I don't mean you individually, but I more mean, what are you directing your county manager, your offices, and stuff? It just seems like we're just being reactive and we're not being proactive and looking in and getting some momentum. You know, if you're not communicating with us, then we're all just a bunch of individual offices working for no common goal. The only common goal is to serve the people. You know, I hosted 2 mental health meetings because we know mental health is a huge issue. So did the county pick up on any of that? Has there been any, you know, government officials forming any task force or anything, getting with people to see, you know, what do we need to do for mental health? These issues, this issue was mental health driven. And it's affecting all of our citizens. And it's a problem. You know, what about the homeless? We're seeing a lot more homeless around here, a lot more tents going up. Are we talking about it? Are we looking at what we're going to do? Or affordable housing, transportation. These are all issues I'm hearing from a lot of nonprofits I'm involved with. But is there any good discussions? Are we bringing some of these people together and let's have some conversations about it? Or are we only sitting back hoping somebody else addresses the problem? You know, the one big thing about it is a community without a mission becomes infected with social apathy and acceptance. We need a mission. You're the head government. You need to help bring all of these entities together so we can all work together for a common cause. But there's got to be communication, and there's not. Y'all didn't come to us and say, this is the pot of money we have, Sheriff. Can we sit down and let's work on this and let's see where we can work together? No. Instead, I get an email and said, here's what the board said. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Reese.
The Catoosa County Facebook page had a post on Friday that detailed more of the plan to give raises to all, including emergency services. So now let's move on to the school board meeting. I personally learned a lot at the meeting with Superintendent Chance Nix detailing all the issues that they have from the state, which mandated this insurance, which blew their budget out of proportion completely. I mean, it was, no one knew about it. The only way that they found out about it was in a governor's speech. It's like, what? Like, no one gave them a heads up. It just, and this is all across the state of Georgia that this is happening in all the schools. And I looked at some others like Cobb County and others, you know, that just seeing what everyone else was doing. And sure enough, I mean, all the school boards got hit like big time, which is crazy whenever you've got a surplus in the government and then you're handing money out, but then you're, bam, knocking them down with the insurance cost here. It's really crazy. I don't know. So I learned a lot though, with how they dictate a lot of things, not only insurance, but just a lot of stuff. Well, they give like 80% of the budget that comes in, or the state pays for it, which you'll see in some of the clips where Chance County explains it pretty thoroughly. And once again, you can see the full video at our CSI Citizen Sharing Information Facebook page. You can scroll through and you can see all those videos because we do them a live, Facebook Live, whenever we go and we do these videos. And I recorded all three of the three mandated. Anytime that any government is going to raise the millage rate, they must, or raise taxes, not millage rate, raise taxes, because they're not raising the millage rate. But because of the Board of Assessors raising your assessments, now that equation from the assessment has went this way. The millage rate staying the same, so you're not paying, they're not changing that millage rate. But because the state says that you can have a rollback, which would lower the millage rate to get it back into that frame of inflation, that they're not lowering the millage rate, so you're going to be paying more taxes in school. If they don't, I mean, they still haven't voted on it, but it looks like that they're going to keep the millage rate. So you may want to contact your school board member, representative, and have this discussion with them. If you live in, same way, they got 4 that cover the district. So find out who your school board member is and contact them for more questions or to give them your opinion. But you can find all three of those videos on Facebook, all three meetings. And here with the video, you can see Chance. I mean, he went through everything. Before him was the CFO.
When you see $7 million, what does that look like? That's just 7 million. That's a lot of zeros. Let me show you what $7 million looks like, okay? The Board of Education funds to put an SRO in every single school in our county. We want our kids and our staff safe. We pay $1 million to put an SRO in every school. $1 million. The insurance went up $7 million. We put a nurse in every school in our county. I don't know how schools do it. They don't have one in every school. It costs us $1 million. $1 million. The insurance went up $7 million. Just like that. We got to come up with the money somewhere. There was no warning. Read the paper. Every school is doing the same thing we are. We're in trouble. Equalization is complicated, but it's mainly this. It's Robin Hood. They take money from wealthy systems like Catoosa County, and they give it to poor systems. So while our property is becoming wealthier and wealthier, they're taking our money and giving it to they don't even give it to us. They just keep 5 meals right off the top. 5 meals is $12, $13 million. They just don't give it to you. And that's $8 million in 2 years. They're not giving it back anymore. We used to get some money back. But the state has said, Catoosa County, you guys are doing well. We're going to take money from you and give it somewhere else. What have we done to cut it? Guys, we've cut all kinds of stuff. Austin already went through them, so I'm not going to go through all these. We're cutting personnel. Here's the thing I need you to know when you talk about cuts, because I see this out there. What budget cuts have you made? Our budget is 90% personnel and benefits. So when you say cut something, you mean cut what? Teachers. That's what you have to cut. That's the only way I can do it. Cut administrators. Cut bus drivers. That's the only way you can make meaningful cuts. Reduce personnel. We've reduced budgets. We've cut budgets. I've met with our principals and told them, guys, we're in a tough time. You're going to get told no, more than likely. We just don't have the money. We also apply for so many grants. We got a $3 million grant for the College and Career Academy. That's a lot of zeros. What budget cuts have you made and will you make in the future? We're making school level cuts as well. We're cutting teachers. Class sizes will be larger. When class sizes are larger, there's more disruption in the classroom. Ask a teacher if you know one. I've created a financial task force to find out ways. Guys, we got to find ways to save money. How can we do it? Okay, teachers, administrators are certified. They have a certificate from the state. Who pays their salaries? The state. Remember the budget? He showed 80% of the money came from what? The state. And then about 35% comes from the local taxpayer. So who pays teachers and who pays principals and who pays their insurance? The state of Georgia. Classified. That's the other group. Who are our classified folks? Anybody that's not a teacher. If you're a child nutrition worker, you're classified. If you're a bus driver, you're a classified school employee. If you are a custodian, you are a classified school employee. If you're a parapro, if you're a secretary, when you call your child's school and that lady that answers the phone is a classified person, who pays their salaries? The local budget. The Catoosa County taxpayers pay those individuals. Well, doesn't all this new development, everywhere I go I see new subdivisions. Don't all these new subdivisions, y'all make so much money off those, you shouldn't have to raise taxes. All that money y'all are getting off of them. This is exactly what Director Carter was showing us. We lost almost $4.3 million. Well, how did you lose money if you're getting more money for the subdivisions? Because the number of people who are qualifying for all the exemptions that the board gives have outpaced the number of new taxes collected. So we don't get any more money for that. We lost $4.3 million. That's just that.
But it was very informative. Learned a lot. It was a great presentation. Still chewing on it a lot. As you all know, I don't really haven't really been following the school board. We have somebody that goes and has recorded a couple of the videos for us, which now we're working on getting one of these cameras into her hands so that she can be able to do streaming and get those videos streaming. And so, but it's more and more. I mean, the county has a lot of meetings, not just the Board of Commissioners, but the Public Facilities Authority, the Economic Development Authority, the Board of Assessors, and then you've got the Ringo City Council meeting that we took on, doing those recordings a few months back. People on our Facebook page, we did a poll and people wanted to see the videos, so we started doing those. So now I guess, we're going to be filming the school board as well. School board does not film their own videos. They do not have any video cameras that are in the room like the Board of Commissioners do. And there's one that I missed. We also do the planning and zoning meetings as well for the county. So we are raising funds for another camera and put it in the hands of another citizen so that then they can go to the meeting with the camera and do the Facebook Live, be able to get that video out. It's a lot for me and my wife to function with our family and be a husband and wife, and also be at 2 meetings, 3 meetings at one time. So anything you guys can do to help us out, much appreciated, and being able to have you guys as our sponsors, because this is important. A lot of people have praised us on this, so and what we do, but it's not something that we sought out for praise. It's just we just want you guys to see what we see, to know what we know, and diffuse that knowledge across the county with the citizens. So, well, there you have it. School board is expected to keep the current millage rate, which will raise taxes. The county is expected to take the rollback, which will keep the county taxes the same, but they're increasing their budget, their spending, by another $4.7 million. And the cities will be meeting this month to determine their budget and millage rate. So you still got Fort Oglethorpe and Ringo. If you don't live in the city, you're going to be paying school, county, and city tax. And there's a possibility that your city tax may go up. I think they're proposing a raise in Ringo for the millage rate. So we will see, I think it's next week, whenever they have their meeting. If you go on Facebook, C.S.I sharing information, citizens sharing information, you will see calendar invites that come your way to remind you of those meetings. So go look us up, follow us, so then that way you can get more information. Be sure and share this video with other people in the county, and like us on Facebook, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching. Once again, Nick Ware, and I appreciate everyone in this county that stands up, does what they need to do for their families, for their neighbors, and for the citizens that live here in this county. Have a great week.